Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So today I am here with a video on how to make this really nice, actually surprisingly easy ginger cake, or some people call it Parkin. Where I'm from we call it Parkin, but it's basically a spicy, not too dense but quite sticky sponge cake. So it's an old family recipe, not my recipe this time, and following it I was a bit nervous, but it turned out actually surprisingly easy, so I thought I would share it with you. So what I'm starting with is 1 pound of sifted plain flour, which is actually 453 grams. And to that I'm basically mixing all of my dry ingredients together. So that is half a teaspoon of salt, half a teaspoon of baking powder, and 3/4 teaspoon of bicarb. And now I am adding 2 teaspoons of ginger, just because I wanted it quite spicy, and I'm also adding 2 teaspoons of ground cinnamon. Again, I like cinnamon, so I wanted it to be really fragrant. So with this recipe it really is a case of sort of just bunging all the dry ingredients together, getting that all combined, and then it's the wet ingredients that get a little bit trickier. So you want to take a pan, excuse my pan's a bit dirty, but this is reserved for sugar and things like that, things that are quite hard to clean off, so it's my pan that I'm not too precious about. And I'm adding 4 ounces, which is also 113 grams, and this is of lard. I'm using sort of vegetable extract. It's basically vegetable fat, just a really good substitute for any sort of lard or anything like that. This is super useful in vegan buttercream and vegan pastry as well, or just vegetarian pastry. And to that I'm adding equal parts, so again 113 grams of margarine. So this recipe is originally all in ounces and pounds, but I have converted it in the description just to make it a little bit easier to read, a tiny bit more accurate. So you want to add those things directly to the saucepan, and don't worry too much about sort of breaking them into small pieces or mix them around, doesn't really matter too much. And to that I am adding 8 ounces of brown sugar, which is 226 grams. And again, just adding that straight on top. You can sift it if you would like to, but you don't necessarily need to, just because it's all going to get combined and it's going to have a lot of mixing. So don't worry too much about that. Then to the mixture I am adding 8 tablespoons of golden syrup. Now my golden syrup was running out, so I did sort of just eyeball this after a certain period of time, and sort of the syrup started just getting stuck to the spoon. So I just added sort of what I assumed was around 8 tablespoons, and it all worked out okay. And then finally you want to add 2 tablespoons of black treacle. Yeah, it's definitely not for any sugar-free people out there. All you've got to do is take it over to the hob, put it on a medium to low heat, and then just wait for the margarine and the lard to melt. Occasionally stir just to make sure nothing's sticking to the bottom and that everything's sort of evenly heated up. But you don't need to overmix it really at this stage, but don't be too scared of it either. The butter will sort of settle on top, and this does take quite a long time to go away. And when this starts going away is when I decided to go on to the next step. So that's where I sort of judged how to move on. So we're back with our bowl of dry ingredients, and I'm just making a little well in the centre, and to that well I'm going to add those wet ingredients that we have been cooking on the hob. You want to add all of that mixture in at once, that's absolutely fine. I would put this into just a normal bowl like I've done here rather than a stand mixer. And there I am adding 2 eggs that have been whisked up and mixed with 4 tablespoons of milk. Then you just want to mix it together pretty lightly, just make sure all the flour is combined. You don't have to be too gentle, but I was just erring on the side of caution of keeping all that nice air in it. The more air you keep in, the less likely you are to get that sort of dense, not risen properly mixture. But here I'm just trying to get any of the lumps out that I can see. And actually it worked out pretty well. There weren't any lumps in it at all actually at the end, so they did all just mix out as I was mixing, and you end up with this super really nice looking caramelly type mixture. So then you want to line a square baking pan, preferably with sort of a lid that pops out of the sides, so it makes them a little bit easier. And I just lined the bottom with baking paper. Excuse the messy baking paper. I didn't have actual baking paper, so I only had my sort of traditional cake tin liners, and I really wanted this one to be square, so excuse that. Then all you want to do is pop that all in. Now the original recipe said that you want to cook this for 40 to 50 minutes at 275 degrees Fahrenheit in an electric oven. However, electric ovens have come quite a fair way since this recipe was made. So I actually found that if I cooked it on about 175 degrees Celsius for about 30 minutes, it pretty much did right. You want to just keep checking this one. It's a bit tricky, especially because it's got so much syrup in it that it's going to take quite a while for anything, if you sort of put a stick in or anything, to come out clean. So do just keep testing it. As you can see, mine had quite a few holes in at the top from where I was testing it, but just stick with it. Once that skewer comes out clean, it's all good to go. It should be equally risen on all sides and quite bouncy in the middle. And as you can see, it was really nice and had lots of air bubbles inside. So it did come out really, really well. I'm really pleased with it. So if you would like to try this recipe, do let me know. As always, the recipe is in the description, and I will see you next week with another video.